Lu Bu, the most famous Chinese warrior on the global stage. Through the lens of films, games, and novels, his terrifying prowess seems powerful enough to shatter the world itself. This legendary status is largely thanks to the original depictions in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. However, history is not fiction. As a work of literature, the romance relies almost entirely on imagination for its portrayal of Lu Bu's combat power. In reality, according to the official dynastic records of China, Lu Bu ranks, at most, 9th among the greatest warriors of the ancient world. Let us examine, based on the most rigorous historical evidence, who the true Chinese gods of war were. Warriors with lethality far beyond that of Lu Bu. Number 9. Lu Bu. In the official Records of the Three Kingdoms and the Chronicle of Heroes, what was the true extent of Lu Bu's combat ability? First, history acknowledges his natural talent. The Records of the Three Kingdoms describes him as skilled in archery and horsemanship, with physical strength beyond ordinary men, earning him the title of the Flying General. The Chronicle of Heroes records a specific encounter. Outside the city of Chang'an, Lu Bu faced the warlord Guo. Lu Bu proposed, "Withdraw the troops, let us settle this in single combat." The result? The history states, Bu pierced Si with a spear, Si's cavalry rushed to his rescue, and both sides withdrew. This is the reality. It was no epic duel of 300 rounds. Lu Bu wounded Guo with a spear, Guo was rescued by his men, and the fighting stopped. There was no instant kill and no decapitation. What about his performance on the open battlefield? The records detail his campaign against the Black Mountain Army. Bu rode the fine steed Red Hair, charging into the enemy ranks with dozens of elite riders. Performing this 3 or 4 times a day, they emerged having taken many heads. This proves Lu Bu was a first-rate heavy cavalry commander. Leading elite scouts, he could break enemy lines repeatedly. However, history is in the details. He was leading a unit, his opponents were untrained peasant rebels, and the records offer no quantitative data of him slaying hundreds alone or decapitating a supreme enemy commander. When compared to the gods of war further up this list, Lu Bu's record is merely a passing grade in this S-tier pantheon. Number 8. Liu Yu. Number 8 is a founding emperor, Emperor Wu of the Liu Song, Liu Yu. The year was 399 AD. During a massive rebellion, Liu Yu, then a mid-level officer, was scouting with only a few dozen soldiers when he stumbled upon the main rebel force of several thousand. It was a death trap. Faced with overwhelming numbers, Liu Yu's men were quickly decimated. Pushed back to a steep riverbank, Liu Yu faced his final stand. The Book of Song records the suffocating tension. He brandished his long blade and roared from the bank, charging with such ferocity that the rebels scattered in chaos. He pursued them, slaying vast numbers. Liu Yu did not charge on horseback. In the most brutal terrain, attacking from below, he launched a desperate countercharge alone, wielding only a long-handled blade against thousands of disciplined troops. He didn't just survive. His terrifying lethality shattered the psychological defense of the entire rebel army. By the time his reinforcements arrived, they witnessed a miracle unique in military history. Liu Yu, alone, was hunting down thousands of fleeing enemies. Number 7. Qiong. Qiong, the premier warrior of the early Tang dynasty and the sharpest spear of Emperor Taizong. The Old Book of Tang records that during the brutal wars to unify the empire, whenever a champion from the enemy camp flaunted his power before the lines, Li Shimin would not bother with complex maneuvers. He would simply turn to Qiong and issue a single command for a surgical decapitation. What followed was Qiong leaping onto his horse and piercing the enemy amidst a forest of 10,000 spears. This was no fair duel in an open field. Qiong faced a wall of infantry, a thicket of pikes, and a rain of arrows. Yet, the result of these near-suicidal charges was always the same. Never did he fail his mission. While Lu Bu led elite cavalry against rebels, Qiong performed surgical strikes against the elite corps of rival warlords. In his later years, riddled with illness, Qiong offered a poignant summary of his life. "I have fought over 200 battles, shedding enough blood to fill several vast jars. How could I not be ill?" Number 6. Zhang Liao, 215 AD. The Battle of Hefei. The garrison had only 7,000 men. Outside stood an army of 100,000, led by the warlord Sun Quan. Zhang Liao made a mad decision. He handpicked 800 suicide squads and, at the first light of dawn, charged into the 100,000-strong army. The records of the Three Kingdoms states, Liao donned his armor and gripped his halberd, the first to break the line. He slew dozens and decapitated 2 generals, shouting his own name as he breached the camp, reaching Sun Quan's very banner. Zhang Liao personally led from the front, slaughtering dozens in close-quarters combat. He systematically eliminated enemy officers and cut through layers of defense until he reached the supreme commander. Sun Quan was so terrified by this overwhelming force that he fled to a high mound just to survive. An army of 100,000 was paralyzed by a vanguard of 800 men led by one man. But his true power was yet to be shown. When the enemy surrounded the 800 men, Zhang Liao broke out with a few dozen riders. Hearing the desperate cries of those still trapped, "Will the general abandon us?" Zhang Liao turned his horse and dove back into the sea of 100,000 to rescue his remaining men. The Wu army was so psychologically shattered by his invincibility that their generals dared not engage him for the rest of the campaign. Number 5. Dian Wei. Cao Cao's personal bodyguard and the most visceral berserker in Chinese history, Dian Wei. The records of the Three Kingdoms detail the Battle of Puyang in 194 AD. Lu Bu led his elite cavalry in a 3-pronged assault on Cao Cao's position. Under a rain of arrows, the defense was collapsing. Dian Wei stepped forward. He discarded his shield, donned double-layered heavy armor, and abandoned all defensive posture. He planted a dozen short halberds in the ground and ordered his men, "Tell me when the enemy is 10 paces away." As the cavalry closed in, the soldiers screamed, "They are at 10 paces!" Dian Wei replied coldly, "Tell me at 5 paces." "They are at 5 paces! They are upon us!" At that lethal distance, Dian Wei exploded. Holding a dozen halberds, he rose with a roar. None could withstand his throw. He became a human projectile launcher, throwing heavy, short halberds with such velocity and precision that every throw impaled a rider. Lu Bu's elite charge was physically beaten back by Dian Wei's raw, destructive power. 3 years later, during a sudden mutiny, tens of thousands swarmed Cao Cao's tent. To cover his lord's escape, Dian Wei and a dozen guards held the gate. Outnumbered thousands to one, Dian Wei swung a massive halberd, snapping a dozen enemy spears with every strike. When his weapons shattered and he was covered in dozens of wounds, Dian Wei threw down his broken blade, seized 2 enemy soldiers with his bare hands, and used their living bodies as weapons to swing at the mob. The rebels were so horrified by this subhuman sight that they dared not approach, eventually killing the monster from a distance with arrows. Dian Wei died standing, cursing his enemies. Only long after his death did the rebels dare to approach his body, coming just to gaze upon the remains of the beast. Number 4. Guan Yu. Number 4 is the man who truly earned the title Saint of War. Guan Yu. Let us set aside the fictions of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms and look at how the official Records of the Three Kingdoms documents his prowess. The year was 200 AD, the Battle of Baima. Yuan Shao, the hegemon of the north, dispatched his elite vanguard led by the top-tier general Yan Liang, completely surrounding Cao Cao's positions. Just as Cao's army neared total collapse, Guan Yu entered the fray. Guan Yu caught sight of Yan Liang's parasol and banner. He galloped into the sea of 10,000 soldiers, pierced Yan Liang amidst the ranks, and returned with his severed head. None of Yuan Shao's generals could withstand him. Step 1. Caught sight of the banner. In an ancient battlefield of tens of thousands, shrouded in dust and utter chaos, Guan Yu first displayed a terrifying sense of battlefield perception. He accurately locked onto the Supreme Commander's location and instantly decided on a solo decapitation strike. Step 2. Galloped and pierced. Note that history uses the word pierced, not cleaved as in the novels. The real Guan Yu did not use the legendary green dragon crescent blade. He used the Ma Shuo, a heavy armor-piercing cavalry lance. The emphasis is on amidst 10,000 soldiers. Yan Liang was protected by layers of heavy infantry and elite halberdiers. To reach him, Guan Yu had to rely on pure kinetic energy and masterful parrying to tear through a disciplined defensive formation. He wasn't dragged down or speared. Instead, he precisely drove his lance through the enemy commander. Step 3. Returned with the head. After the strike, Guan Yu did not immediately flee. At the very center of the enemy's encirclement, he reined in his horse and stopped. He likely dismounted or leaned down, drew a sidearm like a ring pommel saber, and carved off Yan Liang's head in full view of the enemy before remounting and adjusting his stance for the retreat. Finally, none could withstand him. As Guan Yu rode back carrying the head, the brave generals under Yuan Shao were paralyzed. No one could, or dared, to stop him. Number 3. Rengui. Number 3 is Rengui, another legendary spearhead of Emperor Taizong. 645 AD, Emperor Li Shimin led a campaign against the Goguryeo. Outside the city of Anshe, the Tang army faced 250,000 enemy troops. The battlefield became a grueling meat grinder. The Old Book of Tang records that Rengui deliberately donned a stark, eye-catching white robe. Armed with a heavy halberd and 2 powerful bows, he charged alone at the very front of the entire army. History says, he roared and entered first, invincible in his path, as the enemy crumbled and fled. He was like a white-hot, armor-piercing shell, carving a bloody path through the dark enemy lines. The sight of this White Reaper shattered the enemy's psychological defense, leading to a total collapse of their formation. Even Emperor Taizong, watching from the distance, was stunned by this superhuman combat power. 17 years later, in 662 AD, during the Battle of Tianshan, the Tang army faced nomadic cavalry. Before the battle, the enemy sent out dozens of their strongest champions to provoke the Tang lines. Rengui did not order a general charge. He calmly rode forward and drew his bow. Whish, whish, whish. With only 3 arrows, the 3 most ferocious enemy champions were impaled and killed instantly. The kinetic energy and psychological impact were devastating. For nomadic tribes, archery was their ultimate pride. Rengui used 3 arrows to deliver a crushing, dimensional blow in their own specialty. The remaining tens of thousands of TLA warriors were so terrified that they collectively dismounted and knelt in surrender. A song rose in the army. The general settled Tianshan with 3 arrows, while the warriors sang as they returned to the pass. Number 2. Ran Min. Number 2 is the infamous blood-soaked warlord, Ran Min. we look to the Book of Jin, compiled by Tang Dynasty historians. Note that this history is extremely critical of Ran Min, yet even through a lens of hostility, the historians recorded his performance at the Battle of Liantai in 352 AD. Ran Min led 10,000 infantry, but was surrounded by over 100,000 Xianbei heavy cavalry. The enemy even deployed chained cavalry, armored units linked together like iron towers. Facing 10-to-1 odds against elite cavalry armed to the teeth, Ran Min did not flee. History records him riding his legendary stallion, Zhu Long, wielding a massive double-edged lance. Like a red-hot blade through butter, he smashed into the Xianbei heavy cavalry ranks. He didn't just break the line, he began a frantic, solo harvest. The Book of Jin provides a specific number. He personally slew over 300 of the bravest Xianbei commanders and elite soldiers. In the chaos of a heavy armor collision, one man single-handedly cut down over 300 of the enemy's core elite. The Xianbei army could not defeat him in direct combat. Ran Min's ultimate downfall was not due to a lack of prowess, but because his horse, Zhu Long, finally collapsed and died from sheer exhaustion after carrying him through the slaughter. Only after his horse died and he fell to the ground did the surrounding enemy dare to swarm and capture him. Number 1. Xiang Yu. Who is number 1? According to the official records, there is no debate. The overlord of Western Chu, Xiang Yu. As a commander, he performed the most incredible miracle in military history. At the Battle of Pengcheng, with only 30,000 men, he crushed Liu Bang's coalition of 560,000 in just 6 hours. This is the absolute ceiling of tactical command. But today, we speak only of individual combat. The records of the Grand Historian uses precise, stark imagery to document Xiang Yu's final stand after his breakout at the Battle of Gaixia in 202 BC. It remains the ultimate swan song of human combat capability in the age of cold steel. Xiang Yu's army had disintegrated. The once invincible god of war was cornered at the Wu River with only 28 riders left. Pursuing him were 5,000 of the Han army's most elite cavalry. Facing this overwhelming darkness, Xiang Yu did not defend. He gave his last command to his 28 men. "Today I will surely die, but before I do, I will take another general for you, cut down their banner, and prove that it is heaven that destroys me, not a failure of my skill." He charged like a bolt of black lightning into the 5,000-man formation. The records state, "The king roared and galloped down. The Han army scattered like withered leaves as he decapitated a general." When a Han commander named Yang Shi tried to pursue him, Xiang Yu turned and unleashed a roar of pure, lethal intent. This single shout was so terrifying that Yang Shi and his horse retreated for miles, their will to fight utterly broken. This was the raw aura of a true god of war. Soon after, the king galloped again, decapitating another colonel and slaying nearly 100 men. But even this was not the limit. When he regrouped with his men and found only 2 had been lost, he retreated to the riverbank and ordered them to dismount for a final stand on foot. Facing a mountain of Han troops, Xiang Yu and his few men charged the enemy cavalry with short blades. The records leave us with one final count. Xiang Yu alone slew several hundred Han soldiers. Imagine this with common sense. A man without the height advantage of a horse or the reach of a heavy lance, facing a high-speed charge of elite cavalry. How did he, with only a human body and a single blade, cut through nearly 100 enemies before his strength failed? How fast was his blade? How terrifying was his strength? Only after sustaining over a dozen fatal wounds did he take his own life. The god of war could only be slain by himself. This leads to the grandest and most profound enigma in Chinese history. Why was this invincible hero ultimately undone? Click the link on your screen to enter our S-tier historical documentary, the entire history of the rise of the Han Empire. We await you in the depths of history.